This is the latest double finished bourbon from the Penelope Cooper series named Havana, capitalizing on the popularity of Rio and also maple finishing casks. So that makes Penelope Havana a double cask finished bourbon matured in both maple syrup and rum barrels. Could it possibly be better than Rio? Let's review it. It's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C, and welcome back to the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. Like the video, subscribe to the video while you're here, and help me keep climbing to 100,000 subscribers here early in the year 2025. So Penelope has gone through a bit of change in the last year or so. Back in May of 2023, MGP announced that its Luxco subsidiary reached a definitive agreement to acquire 100% of the equity of Penelope Bourbon and its related assets, well, meaning all their barrels. Since then, Penelope has been able to parlay that partnership into acquiring some new higher age barrels and unique mash bills that we saw at the end of last year with their new estate collection. Now for this release, Penelope went back to what made them so popular, a sweet bourbon with an emphasis on sweet. All right, so let's get this poured. So Penelope Havana begins as Penelope's 4-year-old 4-grain mash bill, which is distilled from a mash bill of 74% corn, 16% wheat, 7% rye, and 3% malted barley. Now, after its initial 4 years, Penelope Havana then matures in Caribbean rum cask for a year and was then finished for an additional month in maple syrup barrels. Now, as I mentioned, Havana falls within Penelope's Cooper series of cask-finished bourbons, along with Rio, Rosé, Tokai, and Valencia. This is bottled at 93 proof. It's available now with a limited allocation of only 4,500 cases with a suggested retail price of $79.99. So this will be interesting to test it against Rio. Rio, I was not a huge fan of at the beginning, just because I'm not really the biggest fan of Amburana, even though I do love cinnamon. But I just think the overuse of it just got a little bit tired for me. However, the use of honey in Amburana, I felt like I get more honey on the Rio than I do Amburana, which I think it's to its benefit. So let's try this with the combination of rum and maple syrup. Here we go. Now, I found this interesting. When I first cracked this open, I was getting a lot of the whiskey notes, like the actual bourbon and the grain I was picking up. Again, it's not a super old bourbon here. They're relying on the finishes to really, amp this one up with flavor. But I felt like I was getting that beginning, but now that it's opened up, to me, I really get the maple syrup up front. It's also interesting because in rums, I also find maple syrup, but I also will find pineapple, some rich fruits, depends on how the rum is aged. Yeah, to me, the more this opens up, it smells like walking into like a really good breakfast place where it's just maple syrup, cinnamon, confectioner's sugar. But again, I do feel like you get that little hint of a youthful grain in it as well. So, all right, let's give it a try. Yeah, this is very sweet. I have a tendency to call things this sweet and this almost like a fat kid whiskey, like a kid that just loves to eat candy and syrup. And I know we just passed Christmas, but I feel like Elf would love this whiskey. So towards the back of the palate is really where I think the rum hits. So you almost get like this maple syrup, sugary sweet combination. And again, I do think because there is a little bit of wheat in this mash bill, I feel like the wheat comes through. And maybe it does turn into a little bit of a bready waffle type of experience. It's interesting, it's kind of bright and dark at the same time. And I feel like there's no surprises here. If you like rum, you're probably gonna pick up the rum in here. If you like maple syrup, you're probably gonna pick that up in here too. It's a nice combination of both, but like I said, I think a lot of times you will get maple syrup sometimes in rums. Again, this is a very cloyingly sweet bourbon, especially for me. Generally don't go for these, these heavy finishes. I actually really enjoyed Valencia as well. Really thought Valencia was a great whiskey. I really like that Vino de Naranja influence that it had. That little bit of orange I thought worked really well with Penelope's mash bill. This, however, this is more of a Rio feel. So let's do a quick comparison to Rio and see which one I like best. All right, so here's Rio. Again, combination of Amburana and honey. Now, Rio is 98 proof compared to the Havana, which is 93 proof. So a little bit of a bump in proof point for the Rio. All right, let's compare them. This is gonna be some sweet whiskey here. That Amburana is, I haven't had, this is the first Amburana whiskey I think I've had in, it's been a while. Since probably last year when I was like picking through some barrels and we came across an Amburana. It has that almost medicinal cinnamon type of influence, but like I said before, the thing about Rio that I think can balance it out a little bit, I feel like Amburana sometimes can get to almost a part where it's medicinal and it's harsh, whereas this is a lot softer, I think, because of the honey. And I think as this one has opened up, the honey, to me, has gotten stronger and stronger on Rio. All right, let's try the Rio here. This might just destroy my palate today, I'm done. Yeah, the thing that the Rio has is, you know, I think that little bit of proof point actually gives a little bit of a punch. And with the Rio, and maybe because it's just such a, Amburana and honey can be so heavy, especially for a finished whiskey, depending on how you use it. I feel like the finishes here lean more on honey than it does the Amburana, even though the Amburana is there. But I feel like the younger whiskey in here definitely gets covered up a little bit more than it does in the Havana. Wow, coming off the Rio, this just came off like straight up rum now. It almost has that little sweet tobacco note that you sometimes get in a well-aged rum. And then on top of that, the maple syrup, almost grilled pineapple combination comes to the forefront here on the back end too. I mean, crazy, crazy whiskeys. These are definitely mood pours. But for me, I might be leaning towards the Havana. I love the rum, the maple casca notes that go along with it. Almost that breakfasty kind of note that it has. But on the other side of it, I think as it opens up, more of the rum starts coming in. This could be actually a really good cigar whiskey. Maybe it brings out flavors in both the cigar and also the whiskey a little bit. Last sip here. Yeah, the one thing I wish that the Havana did have was a little bit more of a punch on the back end, but I don't think that's what this was made for. It was really made for really easy sipping. Big fans of finished whiskeys that want a really, really sweet profile. So, all right, final breakdown on this one. All right, final breakdown for the Penelope Havana. Price for this one, $79.99. As far as secondary market value, I have seen these on secondary for about $150 to $175. But again, we saw that same thing with Rio, with these being a little bit more limited, which is also the availability. I do think we'll see a little bit of an upcharge in some cases for this whiskey, but with the whiskey market the way it is, we'll see. Value here, for what's in the bottle below $100 when you're getting a double cask finish, normally you see double cask finishes way above that, you know, unless you're one of the big heritage distillers. So for under $100, I think the value of what you're getting in the bottle for, I mean, when it says maple and rum, you're getting maple and rum. And I think the value here is even. Most I pay for this one, I wouldn't go over SRP, especially only being at 93 proof, it being a really sweet, almost a dessert whiskey, if you will. I mean, when you're done with dinner, if you want something sweet to taste, you don't really want some dessert, you could probably just pour a glass of this and this will do just fine. As far as alternatives go here, you know, finished whiskeys are pretty tough to find alternatives for, but the one alternative I do find with this is actually Starlight. I think Starlight has done rum, they've done Amburana, they've done maple syrup. So there's a lot of different finishes that they've done as well, around the same age as this whiskey. However, you're probably gonna pay around the same price for this, but if you can't find this, Starlight can offer a little bit of a good alternative to hunt down if you wanna try those different finishes. But I guarantee if you just look around your local store, look on those shelves, there will be a rum finish, something that's out there. Even Yellowstone, I believe, made a rum finish recently, so they are out there. As far as I recommend, is it a skip, a try before you buy, or a buy and back it up? There's obviously two different trains of thought here. If your lane in whiskey is to find very sweet, very easy sipping, kind of, you know, you love those dessert whiskeys, you don't like a lot of oak, you want those sugary sweet flavors in every whiskey that you like to drink, especially at a lower proof, then this is gonna be one that you wanna buy because I think it hits all those notes, especially if you like rum and maple syrup. On the other side, if you want more proof, more depth of flavor, a little bit more oak, and not so much sweet, then this is gonna be one you're probably gonna wanna skip because that's what this is. This is a dessert whiskey to its finest. Penelope probably has another home run here. Even though it's limited, I still think people are gonna be clamoring for this because of the popularity of Rio. And like I said, if you're one of those two different types of drinkers, I think you know which way to go. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching this review on the new Penelope Havana. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit that like button, and if you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this one. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. Cheers, and I'll see you next time right here on The Mash and Drum. Cheers, folks.